Michael Knowles has caused something of a controversy by stating
No one.
it's just a little one. But no, there's an interesting aspect to this, that the backlash has not really been very strong, even though by rights it probably should have been stronger, right? Basically, he went to CPAC, he gave a speech that we'll look at in a second, and I think he knew what he was doing. Obviously, he's not a stupid guy. He knew what he was doing by the framing that he approached this with. But anyway, before we begin, if you want to support us, go to lotus.com, sign up, and watch my latest symposium with Stelios about Oakeshot's conservatism. So I'm a big fan of Michael Oakeshott and the way that he approaches the world from a conservative lens. And this is a really good hour and a half discussion between me and Stelios on how we should frame things, which is more important than the things themselves, I feel, often. Because all arguments are won and lost in the framing, basically. And the framing is what is important about Michael Knowles' speech at CPAC. So let's watch, shall we?
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level.
Now that's the kind of dialectic advancing speech I like to see. Because, the left always do this. We want the abolition of capitalism. Oh, you're not going to get that. Okay, well, let's have a social welfare state then. Okay, fine, we'll have a social welfare state. And the dial is incrementally ratcheted towards the left. Well, Michael Knowles is doing the opposite here. So no, we need to get rid of transgenderism entirely. Okay, well, you can have the male and female bathrooms, in public life. And you can see that's a good swing back the other way.
I view this as local American says maybe we should do what the rest of the world's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we went down this route. No one else is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sincerely, I just find it mad that this is controversial.
Well, it is mad. That's why. This is just not a debate. This is absolutely bonkers, and it doesn't have any bearing on reality. And so, when he points out that, look, if transgenderism is false and men can't become women, which I agree with, then we shouldn't be indulging it. He's not wrong.
Yeah,
and he's also not wrong that this shouldn't be the main topic of political discussion in public life. This is nonsense. We don't need to talk about 0.05% of the population or whatever.
But you're the only culture that's done this to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's been snowballing, sure.
Yeah.
But no one else has experienced what you're experiencing. It is entirely your thinking that has put this in this place. Just think something different then. It's that simple.
And we'll get to how this is just a bunch of thoughts that are being overlaid on reality. And reality actually doesn't really care about the things you think a lot of the time. But you can see the reaction if we go back to Scott Wiener there, California state senator. Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. These words were in a major speech, a speech by a major right-wing figure. Hey, fluffing up Knowles, a major right-wing figure. Good job, mate. At a national conservative conference. It's a straight-up call for genocide. That's what this fight is about. They want us gone. If you look at his bio, he's a CA state senator, Housing Committee former chair, Legislative LGBTQ caucus, Housing, Transit, Climate, Criminal Justice, Reform, Health, Democrat, Pride flag, Jewish flag.
Okay. No pronouns. That's a bit weird.
Yeah, right? I don't even know whether he's a he or a she. Who can't tell? So this...
this is genocide. You're going to make us think different
You
things.
can see that's got 7 million views.
And his pronouns are housing, transit.
Anyway, so this attitude started snowballing. If you go to the next one, you've got a journo here going, Michael Knowles is openly calling for genocide against trans people against CPAC. Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. But where does he say people?
It's not genocide.
I mean, I agree that, for example, after World War II, denazification of Germany was a very good idea. The eradication of Nazi ideology. But no Germans died post-World War II in the denazification, apart from the people who are hanged for war crimes.
It would be really weird.
Denazification of Germany is the killing of all Germans.
That's the true German
Carthaginian
is a Nazi.
delusion.
Says the Nazi Party member.
And also...
Okay. I mean, you get the same thing. It's like, oh, your decommunization of Russia. That's genocide of Russians. It's just, what?
What sense would that make? The next one, this is not just genocide, it's genocidal fascism, by the way. Just casual genocidal language about eradicating transgenderism from public life from Michael Knowles. How about we eradicate fascism from public life instead? I mean, I think it actually has been eradicated from public life.
You can tell this morons just added the word fascism because they just want to make it sound more evil, right?
Yeah,
I love the idea of well, I'm not a genocidal fascist, I'm a genocidal liberal.
I'm progressively genocidal. I don't know what you're talking about. But this is the thing. I think fascism actually has been eradicated from public life. I actually can't think of a single major...
I can't think of a minor figure.
I mean, well, a minor figure, but Richard Spencer, maybe? Something like that.
Is he a fascist?
Well, I don't know if he's actually
a white nationalist.
Fascist. Yeah, I mean, like a broad tent, maybe? A broad, very irrelevant tent.
I mean, sincerely, though, like we've read The Doctrine of Fascism, we went through it and whatever. I can't think of any actual genuine human being who could be accurately defined as the fascists define themselves.
There are a few small Oswald Mosley stan accounts on Twitter. I don't think they're in public life, though, quote unquote.
No. And I mean, that probably was where transgender ideology was 20 years ago.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. That's where it should return. It should just be a bunch of, like, weird people on Twitter who just... And the thing is, there's nothing, like, inhibiting about that. You're free to be a little transgender Twitter account. There's no problem.
Yeah, you can still talk about it.
Yeah.
You go on Tumblr.
Yeah.
You get meetings.
Exactly. Meet up with your fellow irrelevant activists and do whatever horrific thing you want to do to your own body. It just doesn't have to be a part of the public discourse because it's irrelevant, really. But anyway, moving on. Let's get back to Hitler. I mean, literally, this is what this video game journalist is called him.
I do love it. Some guy on Joe Rogan's podcast recently, I forget his name, just mentioned the phrase Hitler of the month.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. Michael Knowles is now Hitler of the month. We need to set up some sort of awards.
12 Hitlers of the year.
Yeah. So he publicly says he wants to eradicate transgendered people. I don't think he did say that, actually. That's some Hitler, Nazi, Germany, genocide ass. Is it, though? Moving on, we get to the people who want to castrate children say that this is, in fact, dangerous, hateful, and fundamentally evil. Evil, say the people who don't believe in good and evil. Interesting. I mean, ask them, where does the moral impetus for declaring something good or evil derive? And they'd be like, well, it's not from God, is it? Yeah, so it's just about preference, really. You don't have a statement here. But anyway, moving on. What happens if we just order 66 Michael Knowles instead?
Sorry, so they're proposing to murder him?
Yes, they're proposing to murder him.
Seems proportionate.
Yes.
That's normal.
This is from someone who puts in their bio, quote, anti-fascist.
Okay, so they're not kidding.
Nope.
that's what I can take from that.
But Michael Knowles obviously saw a bunch of these headlines going on, because of course it didn't just end on Twitter, it got a bunch of articles, some of which we'll go through because they're funny. This is a libelous headline. He calls for transgender people to be eradicated. Nope, he did not say that.
No. You didn't listen.
As they say, they changed the headline, if you can go to the article, because their lawyers must have been like, hang on a second, that is actually not true, and you are actually going to get sued, because the Daily Wire probably have lawyers. And so they changed it to CPAC speaker calls for eradication of transgenderism, quote, and somehow claims he's not calling for the elimination of transgender people. Well, that's because 0 people would be eliminated.
And you know he's not. That's why you changed the headline, not to get sued.
Yeah.
But it's Rolling Stone. Like,
yeah. But they've committed.
They know they're lying.
They know they're lying. And they're still lying. During his speech on Saturday, Knowles told the crowd, for the good of society, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely, the whole preposterous ideology at every level. So even in this, they quote that he's talking about a set of ideas and not individuals, right? Erin Reed, a transgender activist and writer, tells Rolling Stone that it's an absurd distinction. What? The idea that you can't distinguish between an idea and a person suggests that no person has ever changed their mind.
Oh, that's brilliant, though. That's actually how they think.
Mm.
Like, think about it. What do they think the race of transgender is? Like, they think it's a group of people, and the reason why is because they've had an idea.
Yeah. They say they are one and the same, and there's no separation between them. So the physical being of a transgender person is ideologically constituted.
But we can do that with every other ideology.
Exactly. It's literally a communist genocide. It's literally a conservative genocide.
The right-wing race will rise.
Yeah, exactly. The conservative race is currently being genocided by the trans activists.
Every time they're kicked off a social media account, that's a form of ethnic suppression.
Exactly. It's a form of ethnic cleansing. Obviously, what they're trying to say is there's an ontological category of a trans person, as in the person is constituted, the category is constituted by our ideas, and a person fits into the category. So if we abolish the category, then the person themselves is something different, and therefore that's the genocide. That's what they're going for. It's, technically kind of true, but that's not genocide because no one died.
But also, there's no ethnic group.
Well, we'll get to that. She carries on. If you try and separate us from all the things that allow people to experience the world, that does amount to banning transgenders people's existence, says Reed. You can't go your whole life without using a bathroom, without telling a joke on stage in front of friends, without your medicine. All of that amounts to a ban on transgender people. But they would not be denied any of those things. Michael Knowles is not saying, look, anyone who claims to be transgender is no longer allowed to go to the toilet. They just have to use the toilet that matches their birth sex. Like a normal person. Like literally every person under the sun.
Every country on Earth.
Since the dawn of bathrooms.
Like 3/4 of humanity doesn't have any of this.
These confused men can still exist, just not in women's spaces, is what Michael Knowles is saying. Jeff Wetrosky, the HRC's national campaign director, says their words rile up far-right extremists, resulting in more stigma, discrimination, and violence towards LGBTQ people. The rights and very existence of trans people are not up for debate. We will keep fighting back until we are all treated equally with dignity and respect. That's interesting. Fighting back. As if you guys said nothing in advance of all of this. And Michael Knowles just said, you know what I hate today? Trans people. Who are they? Oh, this little group I've identified. They started complaining, the Twitter activists started complaining that, of course, the lawyers got involved, and Rolling Stone's lawyers were like, yeah, you better change that pronto. And it's just rolling over for the right-wing mob. Rolling over. And this happened with the Daily Beast as well, who changed their lovely headline. The transgender community must be eradicated. Again, not true, but what can you do? If we go to the actual article, you can see, again, this isn't Michael Knowles just pulling fake headlines or something. Michael Knowles says the transgender community must be eradicated. This is genocidal, as the tagline. It's not true. Even then, it wouldn't be a genocide. They updated it to reflect the truth, which was fun. And if you go to the next one, you can see, transgenderism must be eradicated. And at the bottom of this, if you scroll down to the bottom, they've got a great little editor's note right at the bottom of the page. This headline has been changed to more literally reflect the words Knowles used. This is what he actually said. Our lawyers were like, you better actually print what he really said, rather than extrapolating to your insane perspective. Salon obviously called him a genocidal maniac as well. Literally, look at the byline there. Michael Knowles, host on the Daily Wire, targeted the trans community with genocidal comments. Nope. But he claims it doesn't exist, which is interesting, because he is saying that the ontological category of transgenderism is not really real. It's fiction. Doesn't map onto reality. And so therefore, transgenderism itself as a concept doesn't really exist. And therefore, the ideology doesn't need to be percolating around the public space. Which she's not wrong on, but they're trying to make out that there's a contradiction here when there's not, and it doesn't work. Yeah. But some outlets, sorry, go on.
Your example of fascism was entirely correct.
Yeah.
It's like, doesn't map onto reality, doesn't make any sense, therefore shouldn't really exist in the public sphere. Doesn't. And we don't have to talk about it.
It's all going. Well, we do have to talk about it. It's a bloody day.
No, people bring it up, but they don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't actually have to sincerely combat fascist
No.
people in every part of the media. There are not fascist representatives going to the White House telling you about why fascism is something you should be teaching your kids.
No.
We put it in the school curriculums, actually, to make sure your kids understand all the fascist jargon, for example.
Yeah.
That's not what we have to deal with.
No, that's good, and that's how things
That's
should
genocide.
be. Yeah, that's been the fascist genocide. But some outlets still have people in the title. Conservative pundit calls for trans people to be eradicated. I'm going to get the lawyers onto this one, Michael, because
Jezebel.
I mean, again, I haven't been to Jezebel in years.
Did they get sued for the Hulk Hogan thing? Was that them?
No, that was Gawker.
Ah,
But
okay.
Jezebel was a subsidiary of Gawker. So
Oh, time for another skull.
that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. What I love about this is a quote. Unfortunately, like the war on abortion, this one also comes at the expense of people's lives. Abortion famous for not taking any lives. No one dies during an abortion.
I can't make the... No.
The rhetoric is fascist and genocidal. It's being accompanied by actual laws that kill people and destroy their lives. No?
Again, we killed all the Germans. I'm sorry about that. That's genuinely what you believe if you think that saying an idea shouldn't be in the public life is genocide.
Italy was depopulated.
Only half of it.
Media Matters posted this. Daily Wire host says there can't be a genocide of trans people as transgender people is not a real ontological category. And
Didn't say that.
well, but he did say this elsewhere in his show, following up on this, and he's not wrong, frankly. Like, you know, I don't disagree with him actually.
Just anything Media Matters right, always distrust.
Yes. But he, but what I find interesting is they've quoted him accurately because, of course, they don't want to get sued, and he makes some good points, right? Nobody's calling to exterminate anybody because the other problem with the statement is that transgender people is not a real ontological category. It's not a legitimate category of being. There are people who think they're born the wrong sex, but they're mistaken. They're laboring under a delusion, and so we need to correct that delusion. And another quote, so banning transgenderism, what that would mean is telling people who are a little confused that they need to get psychological help, they probably need a little bit of spiritual help, and they need to be normal. Be normal. I think that's my main political message these days. Radical, genocidal fascist. Michael Knowles, be normal. You might need a bit of mental help if you think you're a man in a woman's body.
Like, don't feel
Or vice
afraid
versa.
to ask for mental help.
Yeah.
Is like he's got the message of a pretty normal charity
Yes.
that's trying to help people.
Yeah.
They're like, well, that's hell on earth.
The genocidal message.
It's okay
Be
to seek
normal.
help.
Yeah. Get a bit of mental help. You're a bit confused. You are a man wearing a wig.
You don't have to suffer alone.
Yeah, exactly. You know, crazy, radical. Knowles went on Tucker after this blew up. But again, it blew up, but it didn't have teeth, you know? You could see that they were like, oh, look, he's being terrible. But there was no venom in the bite. You know, no one, everyone was just like...
I did notice one of those articles had 119 comments. I bet 0 of them are
Yeah.
against him.
But you can see he's having a great time on Tucker here. I don't even need to play the clip. He can barely express something. He got the reaction that he was looking for out of this. And so he did a follow-up podcast and just explained exactly what does it mean to remove transgender ideology from public life? What does that mean? How do we eradicate it? What are the consequences? Let's watch.
Put simply, eradicating transgenderism from public life would mean behaving as American society did before, say, 2015.
Crazy.
Before around 2015, we did not have any acceptance of transgenderism in public life.
Well, you can point to the family.
And it started to be introduced into public life around 2015 when Barack Obama instituted transgender military policies, and some liberals in North Carolina decided to invite men into the women's bathroom and pass all sorts of weird ordinances about bathrooms.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Doesn't require death camps.
You can literally go and watch the Family Guy episodes.
Few
which are
mass
forbidden.
graves.
The South Park episode, Mr. Garrison.
Yep.
Was life unlivable during 2006? Was it? I don't think there were any Americans who were free.
Yeah.
In that year.
Well, no, it's crazy. And Matt Walsh posted a clip explaining why because one of the defense reactions, why do you care about this? Like, we're going to continue defending ourselves. Like, what are you talking about? You've been attacking every aspect of society for the last 5 years since you conquered feminism. In fact, piss off is basically the theme. Let's watch.
You see, the rest of us were living our lives. We were minding our own business when you came along and demanded that we abandon everything we know about fundamental physical reality for your sake. That's what you did. You claim the right to walk into whatever bathroom you want, whatever locker room, whatever sports team. Nobody else has ever had that right. Nobody else has ever had that right to just do whatever they want, go anywhere they want. But you wanted it. You came after our children, seeking to suck them into your suicide cult just to make yourselves feel better. You tried to restructure human society to make it affirming to you personally. You wanted to force the whole world to bend to your narcissism. You tried to put words in our mouths. You tried to control how we speak, even when you're not in the room. Your ego is so out of control that you even tried to take possession of parts of the English language, like you can own them as a pet. You waved that hideous, ridiculous flag in our face and wouldn't stop waving it. You demanded not just tolerance, but celebration. You did all of that. That was you. And now you cry victim because some of us have simply answered no?
I thought it was a great little speech.
What's great about that is if you model it a little bit, it could be talking about anything.
Yeah.
He could be talking about communism. He could be talking about fashion. You can make it black and white and have him talking in the 1920s Weimar. Be like, you need to go.
Well, that is interestingly how your meme turned out.
Yeah. Just wanted to raise my kids, bro.
Yeah. Just want to be a dad, bro. But and finally, I just thought it would be worth pointing out that this was all a big conversation about nothing because definitionally you can't genocide transgender people because they're just not a nation or a race. I mean, this is sorry, get to the next one, John. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum.
I think they would know what genocide is.
I think they might.
Yep.
Genocide is an internationally recognized crime where acts are committed with the intent to destroy in whole or part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Tell me, transgenders, which one of those categories do you fall into? Is it the religious group? Aren't you a secular country? Is there a place for religion in public life? I'm not sure there is. I agree with you, actually, when you're talking to the Christians about your religion.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this episode on dreams. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.